Reports from beyond the stars. The dinner had gone very well. The clams were amazing. There was lobster in homemade garlic butter sauce, and the fish were cooked flaky and so savory that it was like candy, whereas he had added another ingredient to make the fruit salad go from tasting twice as much like fruit with the salt to 5 times as much like actual fruit. Messed up hand or not, Pa Blue could cook like a demon. He called it luck, but no one who sat at a table he had a hand in had any doubt he earned that Michelin star. He'd probably get a second at this point. It takes a rare kind of cook to make half a sliced up mango by itself feel like a luxury dessert. Still, despite the amazing food, good booze, and better company, Liam was still unsettled. So despite it being well after midnight, the man found himself slipping quietly out of the family house for a walk. He had hiked a short way away from the town to a beach that was out of the reach of the streetlights. He was looking up to a dazzlingly clear night sky and just wondering, which one was Lacran? Where was Centris? Light has a speed limit, one that can be broken. How long will it take for the light that warms his cousins? How long will it take for the light that warms his cousins to reach him? 100 years? 1,000? He'd read somewhere that it was 100,000 across. For all he knows, the light of today would only reach Earth when this time is as far back as the caveman is to him. I'm closer to having a mammoth steak than I am to my cousin, he notes to himself as his hands bury themselves in his pockets. He looks down as his mind goes back to churning things. He had seen things from the publicly released videos. Some were outright horror flicks turned action film, like with that Franklin fellow showing off how he used Axiom, coupled with the display of sheer variety of Vernon Shea's Axiom prowess in the tournament, and things were looking fascinating. Although apparently the man was doing an unending Gomez impression with his wife, who was more than happy to play Morticia. Aliens could split continents, and humans playing with the same toys could stomp them back into place. Teleporting, time-shifting, sheer matter reconfiguration. But what's really interesting is the reaction of the audience in the Colosseum when he calls up the tree. Apparently it's massively culturally significant. Culturally significant if people were simultaneously pants, shittingly terrified of witches while also being massively turned on by them. He picks up a local clam from the side of the beach and hurls it back into the ocean. He wonders if other families struggle with this kind of issue, this sheer uncertainty. He has the strange feeling that it's not universal. Sax. I think the smug is almost running out, his disrespectful son states as he beams with pride at what he just witnessed. His dear grandson had begged for permission without actually begging and had proven himself more than worthy. He just wanted to bask in it for a few moments longer, then see it again. It's the major problem with the boy being so far away. He can't possibly tell him how proud he is, which is the real shame. He takes a deep breath and steadies himself. Play it again. Father, don't you think that? Tell the solider boy to play that movie again. I must see it once more. I'm not entirely sure I believed it. He tells his child, and the man adjusts his glasses in exasperation before rising to do as he is told. A minute later, and his son is seated once more and the video begins playing again. It starts once more. A clip of a traditional-looking village in a forest that is an unnaturally dark green in the leaf. Clips of a young boy training under the guidance of a familiar face. It shows a glasses-bedecked man tackling a mermaid into the water with justice, written across his abs and no shirt under his jacket. It shows gigantic beasts crashing into armored tanks and tearing them asunder. It shows the same beasts being outright communed with by the same glasses-bedecked young man. A strange, horned boy commanding and communing with a colossal sea monster that would be right at home in the next Gojira movie. The glasses bedecked young man leading several horned children on a quick run through the branches of a gigantic tree before he leads them all to leaping on a leaf that then disconnects, and they ride it down in a gentle glide. The young man forging a sword in the traditional methods with clear magic aiding in his movements. It shows him weaving, sewing, and ultimately crafting a formal robe and then taking the hand of a delicate-looking Western noblewoman in a gorgeous ballroom gown. Then it stops on the image of him casually deflecting the wild swing of a noblewoman with his barely unsheathed blade and nonchalantly deflecting things. The video then moves to showing the same glasses-bedecked young man sitting formally in a small traditional house with a cup of steaming tea in his hand. So, I hope you're not mad, but I've created a branch of the Koga ninja village on an alien world. The old man snickers again at just how bashful his grandson looks. So, the last video I sent wasn't properly updated due to the fact I was so busy getting things going at the time and forgot to do so. Sorry. Things went from boring to very, very interesting in a hurry. I'm now a sorcerer of the dark forest of Surbo, which, to put things simply, is a kami. A powerful forest kami that is very sympathetic to those willing to open up to it, which isn't hard, but is apparently something that the local species has a massive aversion to doing. Maybe it has something to do with living with Axiom their entire lives. They try to protect themselves on reflex, which shuts out the forest. Only being near death or true desperation has them lower their defenses enough to speak with it. But I have. And the knowledge it has given me, the sheer willingness to share its wisdom and strength. The young man looks away and huffs in amusement. Needless to say, if such a thing existed on Earth, our history would be quite different. Anyways, I've kind of become the cage and founder of this branch of the Koga. I'm the only one carrying the name, but at the same time I consider the men here to be as kin. Is that odd? We have somewhat outsiders who stand apart. Brinchar, Mux Moro, Franklin, of course. We have students as well. Apparently this place has long been refuge for the desperate and afraid. Which means that we tend to have a bit too much fun when it comes to cheering up new arrivals. It's funny, I've gone from a real ninja to one out of fantasy. Trained to hide a knife or slip some poison somewhere, but mostly just how to escape and disguise myself. Maybe trick a few people with some fast thinking and misdirection. Now I can do all the silly, ridiculous things that had you laughing at the anime that played. I remember the whole family having so much fun with that. The video shifts and warps, and he's suddenly sitting against the trunk of a tree that would dwarf most towers in Tokyo. But now it's real. Now it's so real. So, time due to the family proud. And if you want to tell me I'm doing it wrong, then feel free to come over here and give me a proper swat. Yes, grandfather, that is a direct challenge. Get out here, old man. I want you to show this ancient forest just what a proper ninja can do. And 3, 2. The grandfather begins to count down before a trinity of small horned children drop down on his grandson from above with a net of woven vines. I got him! I got him! One of them yells in excitement. The language they use isn't galactic trade or Japanese, but there are captions. The net is thick enough to mostly obscure Koga's features, but he can still wink at the camera. No, you didn't, Koga states in the same language. Yes, we did. No, you didn't, Koga returns. Yes, you're right. There. The largest of the 3 children pokes him in the cheek. That's when Koga lowers himself from above while hanging upside down like the American comic book hero Spider-Man. No, you didn't, he states, and the 3 children stare at him before throwing off the net and revealing a crude stick dummy with a collection of dark brown leaves for hair and shiny rocks for the glasses. They then look back to him, and before they can see him, he switches places with the dummy who's suddenly in his position. The kids look back to the Koga in the net, and it's the dummy again. and Koga is hanging by the vine with a massive smile on his face. They look to the vine and he's in the net. Then they get clever and both of them are suddenly dummies. A third Koga then pops up from below. "You're 100 years too young to catch me." "Get him!" One of the children calls out and they all rush off the edge of the branch. At that point, the camera is picked up by Koga, who grins at it. "Teleporting makes this far too easy. Come, I'll be showing you through the dark forest, with the connection it's formed with me. It's very much a part of the hidden village and all trainee ninjas in there, be they children or the full-grown soldiers with me," he says, before doing something with the camera and it's looking out. "You're at chest level. We use this trick a lot for a body camera. Now let's have fun." He then hurls himself off the side of the tree and there's a cheer from the elder and then a laugh as he turns in mid-air and waves to the children as he passes them. The cries of "Get him!" ring out loud and clear, and a vine shifts to the perfect position for Koga to grab onto, and he turns his fall into a Tarzan swing with a hearty laugh. He shifts his swinging position to hang upside down and watch the children scramble to chase him. He rights himself and lets go of the vine and kicks off a tree trunk before landing on something that gives off an uninterested grunt. "He's on a pear attack!" one of them calls out. "That's right, children! Remember, we hunt pear attack for the meat, so surely you can keep up with one." Koga taunts them as he waits. The answer is no, they can't keep up, not yet. There are moments of sublime grace from the children, but they seem to notice it every time and then start tumbling over themselves as they try to give chase to the grunting, snuffling thing that Koga's sitting on. They pass by a blond American man with a large rifle and the body of an enormous creature that seems to be a cross between a hippo and a boar at his feet. "Trust yourselves and the forest children. The more you try to think through simple things, the harder they are," the blonde advises. "Thank you, Dale. I have this lesson." Koga reminds him kindly and receives a salute. "Stop!" one of the children shouts, and the beast abruptly stops, which throws off Koga before things warp, and he steps around the tree in time for the children, now on the back of the hippo boar, aka Paratok, and looking down at another stick dummy with its shiny rock eyes glinting at them. How does he keep doing this? How many of these does he have? Why does he have them all posed so perfectly? Like he's clearly using some weird wood walking trick, but where is he keeping them all? I've been in every building in the village and a lot of caves that surround it. Where are these things and why does he have so many? Grandfather is chuckling hard at this. The sheer exasperation of the children and the stifled laughter of Koga shows just how in tune the two men are. "Would you all care to learn?" Koga asks from behind the tree, and all three children jump. The Paratok rushes away at that and they all tumble to the moss-covered ground. It's not all that hard. You just need an eye for detail and an understanding that you're going to start slowly, and speed comes from practice and practice alone. There's the sudden sound of a gun going off, and Dale walks out behind a tree with his gun slung over his shoulders and a gigantic Paratok under each arm. "Hey, you're still recording, you know." "I'm aware, Dale. Thank you." Koga replies, and the hunter shrugs. "See you all back at the village, unless you kiddies think you're ready for more skinning and butchering practice. They have a lesson with me, but they should be in time to learn a few more smoking tricks from you." "See you then," Dale remarks before vanishing. "All right then, my little Genin. Any other questions before we start?" Do you have to record this? Why are you recording this?" "To show my family and especially Sofu-sensei that I'm doing my best and being my best. But if it makes you uncomfortable, I can end the video." "Please," one of the children says, and the video jumps. It's Koga back in the small house with another cup of tea. "So, yes, I'm doing my best, hopefully making you all proud of me. I know I haven't done anything to disgrace the Koga name. But if fears were rational, we would have precious few of them." He raises his cup in salute. "To the Koga ninja, We are the first multiplanetary ninja clan. Our day dawns once more. Then the video ends and the elder can feel himself swell with pride once more. Well done, grandson. Very well done.